In 2013, Mike Flanangan co-wrote, edited, and directed Oculus, an original take on the cursed and haunted object genre, in which siblings Kaylie and Tim Russel openly engage in a war versus a dark and malevolent haunted mirror, one that delves into their present and past, jumping seamlessly and quite effectively between the two time frames, as well as the past of the cursed object, and deep into a dark and horrific world, one where almost nothing can be trusted, as the mirror openly attacks, manipulates, and controls the minds and visions of its victims, laying waste to their sanity, while manipulating and directing their actions. In my opinion, this is one of Flanagan's heavier-hitting works, and effectively reveals a unique and original vision. It is heavily based on an older short film he made called Oculus 3, The Man with the Plan. We will get into the dark and rich history of the Laser Glass, its victims, the war waged by Tim and Kaylie versus the piece, and why this is a masterpiece within the genre of horror. Before we do, please hit that like and subscribe, as I have videos coming out all the time. And without any further ado, I present for you Versus the Oculus, a dark and hypnotic war. Let us start with the Laser Glass and its history. The Laser Glass is a haunted and malevolent artifact of unknown creation. It is also unknown how or what has given the piece its abilities, which include causing full and immersive hallucinations, an ability to feed on or kill plants, as well as feed on or absorb dogs. And using its hallucination abilities, it can fully possess its victims, understanding them to the point that it knows exactly what to say and exactly what to do to push them over the edge. The piece seems capable of influencing electronics and phones, although I believe this is more of an effect from its influence on its victims and their perceived use of electronics. Phone calls are received by an eerie voice or set of voices. At one point, Tim believes he walked outside to make a call, when in reality, he just sat down in the house and entered a trance. Although its original creation is unknown, Flanagan has provided the piece with a dark and rich history, originally showing up in 1754 London, having been acquired by the 17th century Earl of Leicester, Philip Lasser, who hung the piece over his fireplace. He was found burnt beyond recognition shortly thereafter. In 1755, a family steward saw Philip in the mirror, an accusation that triggered a church investigation in 1758. In 1864, the piece was sold at public auction to Robert Clancy, an American railroad tycoon who weighed over 300 pounds. He hung the glass in the ballroom of his Atlanta-based home. Later that year, he is seen having lost tons of weight. He was dead a few weeks later, with no cause of death. In 1865, his estate and the Laser Glass was presumed destroyed in Sherman's March to the Ocean. It resurfaced near the turn of the century in New England, where Marie O'Connor hung it in her private bathroom in 1904, where she was soon found having died from dehydration while sitting in a full bathtub for 3 days. Alice Carnan acquired the piece in 1943 in Lake Geneva. Neighbors reported hearing loud screams and bangs from her residence, where police found children drowned in the cistern, with Alice herself in her nursery with both legs shattered, her left arm broken in 4 places, and 6 ribs crushed. In her right hand, she wielded a hammer she had used to crush her bones. When she was discovered, she had begun crushing her skull. Her right arm was undamaged, as she needed it to wield the hammer. She believed she was tucking her kids in for bed. She died shortly after of her injuries. Shobin Kapp acquired the piece in 1955, where he placed the mirror over a dresser. Shortly after, he starved to death in his bedroom. In 1965, it was hung in a lobby in the Hillcrest Bank in San Diego. A tenured teller locked her manager in a bank vault, and then chewed through a live power line. In 1975, Marisol Chavez, played by Kate Siegel of Hush fame, died of a hemorrhage due to a miscarriage. In her nightstand, they found her teeth and a pair of pliers. In 2002, Kaylie and Tim's father, Alan Russell, put the piece in his home office. Within 2 weeks, his wife Marie suffered a psychotic breakdown and was tortured and murdered by her own husband, who was then shot to death by his son in full view of his daughter. Only one person was documented ever trying to destroy the piece. A teacher in 1971 named Oliver Jeffries in Manhattan tried to attack it with a fireplace poker. He ran up to the piece, stood quietly gazing at it, and according to his students, after a minute, walked into traffic. In total, it was responsible for at least 45 deaths in its recorded history. Plot synopsis. The Oculus effectively jumps from the past and future so often that I will place the plot synopsis into 2 timelines before lining them up again in the end. As usual, Flanagan's talent for visuals and direction make these cuts quite flawless and effective in developing the narrative, as well as the horror and tension of the film. In the present timeline, Tim is released on his 21st birthday from the mental hospital, where he has been since he murdered his father after he apparently chained and tortured his mother and killed her, and attempted to kill his sister and him. Kaylie picks him up and they embrace as they reunite. Kaylie explains because she works at the auction house, she has access to the mirror for a few days. Tim is visibly shaken and disturbed as she explains her intentions to keep a promise they made as kids to someday kill the mirror. Kaylie enlists Tim to do battle against the mirror. She explains her setup and plans, and states the date, October 13. In my opinion, not the greatest of dates to do battle with evil. Kaylie has set up a variety of precautions to keep her and her brother safe. 3 cameras, each on their own power circuit, are constantly taping them. Thus, in the case of anomalies occurring, there can be a lucid objective recording them. At least 2 alarms, one set to reset the tapes in the camera, and one set every 2 hours to remind them to eat, exist. Each room has a thermostat with a device to monitor data in case of temperature fluctuations. 5 degrees difference will set off the alarm. Her fiancé, Michael Dumont, calls her every hour, as she tells him she is nervous to be with her brother after his history. The third precaution is the kill switch, an alarm set manually every 30 minutes, with a weighted blade to drop into the laser glass, essentially a gun pointed towards its head, that will go off if they are unable to reset the timer. Her purpose is to prove the laser glass is home to an observable, predictable, supernatural force. She intends to prove that none of the people were responsible for what they did. Tim's cognitive dissonance, literally forced upon him from his time in the mental hospital, causes him to lash out at all of Kaylie's theories, and he begins to sway her, until they return to the mirror and see all of the plants dead and the cameras set up against each other. Kaylie reviews the tape and they find footage of themselves setting the cameras up against each other. Footage that in no way lines up with what they saw or remember, winning Tim over as he realizes she is right and openly joins her in battle with the laser glass. Tons of shenanigans in battle occur, and as the mirror more and more cuts through the siblings' reality with hallucinations and seemingly memories from their past, they more and more lose their grip on reality. Eventually, although unknown to Kaylie, she has stopped answering her phone, so her fiancé comes to find her. Kaylie turns around and seeing the ghostly image of her mom in shock, she stabs it, at which time the mirror gives back her vision and she sees that she has stabbed her fiancé, who then gives her a phone call, showing how much the mirror really messes with them, as she, at least I think, truly killed him, and then quickly received a call from the mirror pretending to be him, or perhaps from his ghost, now controlled by and living in the mirror. Tim calls for help and explains the kill switch will go off. They just have to wait outside. At which point the lights Kaylie laid down to help identify her position go off, and Tim opens the window from inside, revealing Kaylie standing in front of the mirror. They do not know if they are outside and it is tricking them to get back in, or they are inside and it is tricking them to stay. Their sight and senses have been completely possessed by the laser glass. Inside, Tim takes his place behind her, lining them both up to be slain by the kill switch. Let us now dissect the majority of the past narrative. After moving into a new house, Kaylie and Tim's father Alan places the mirror in his office, and the ghostly Marisol visits him early on, as witnessed by Kaylie. Alan starts hallucinating. The mirror causes him to tear off his entire fingernail, while he believes he is simply removing a band-aid, and he blames his children for shenanigans which were most likely done by him, under the influence of the laser glass. Alan accuses Marie of losing her mind when she begins saying the water is poisoned and hearing burglars in the night, amongst other oddities. The couple breaks down both mentally and physically as the mirror taunts them in just the right ways, teasing Marie and causing Alan to become obsessed with Marisol, who Tim explains he is afraid of and saw her sitting on the stairs, and he believes she lives in the office. The mirror takes further control of Marie and begins taunting her with visions of her scar bulging and opening. In her trance, her children attempt to help her, and she attacks them. Alan intervenes, calls for help, and is seemingly answered by the mirror. He then visibly changes, as it seems to possess him fully at this point. He then chains Marie in his bedroom, where he supposedly tortures her. Although we are never shown him torturing her, but we see that she is eating broken shards of pottery or plates and tearing her teeth apart. The children begin fending for themselves as their parents have gone zing nuts crazy and have stopped providing for them. The kids ask their dad, who is simply in a trance, for food, and he keeps saying it is on my list. So they attempt to ask their mom and find her chained to the wall in terrible shape. They begin making phone calls to get help, but are answered by the same mysterious voice no matter who they call. The kids then attempt to get help from a neighbor, who talks to their father and does not believe them. Alan looks in the mirror and takes out a gun. The kids are onto the laser glass mirror, and Kaylie says they're going to have to smash it. But Alan chases them out. They flee and hide in a bathroom. Alan releases his wife. The film begins swinging back and forth in timeline much faster here, masterfully jumping between the two. The kids run from the bathroom. Kaylie nails her mom with a golf club in the head and narrowly escapes her, and jumps out the second-story window. Ghosts are appearing in both timelines and narratives. Kaylie is caught by her mother, who begins choking her, but wakes up before killing her. As she lets Kaylie go, she is shot from behind by Alan. The kids race away, pursued and haunted by the ghosts in the mirror. The kids attack the mirror with golf clubs, but stop when they realize they are hitting the walls around it. Alan intercepts them and prepares to shoot Kaylie. Tim attacks him with a golf club. Alan then tries to choke Kaylie. Tim takes the gun and he lets her go, gets on his knees with Tim pointing the gun at him, then uses his own hand over Tim's to fire before telling them to run. The shot slams him into the mirror, which causes a crack on its right side, the only damage it ever endures. All of the ghosts of the Oculus come for the two children. The alarm goes off and we blast to the present, where Tim wakes sitting in front of the mirror. As we cut back and forth from young Kaylie embracing her mom in the mirror to Tim in the present, we are treated to a masterful ending, bringing closure to both narratives and blowing my brain with a mind-bending meta nature. Tim pulls the kill switch, attempting to take the mirror out. The weighted blade slams into Kaylie's neck as she stood in front of the mirror, but was hidden from Tim's perceptions. We cut to the young Tim and Kaylie, as Kaylie tells him to promise her when they are bigger and stronger, they will come back and destroy the mirror, getting revenge and removing the malevolent and cursed object from existence. Tim promises, as sirens are heard approaching. As the narratives are tied up, we cut back and forth between the two, as young Tim is taken in for killing his father, and older Tim is taken in for killing Kaylie. Young Tim looks to the house and sees the ghosts of his parents. Then we cut to the older Tim as he gazes at the ghosts of his parents and Kaylie watching him. A very powerful and masterful ending. Actors. All of the actors give us a great performance. I find none particularly standing out, as every character and every actor seems to do quite well with what they are given. The cast includes Karen Gillian as Kaylie Russell and Annalise Basso as the 12-year-old Kaylie Russell, Brendan Thwaites as Tim Russell, and Garrett Ryan Ewald as the 10-year-old Tim Russell. Their parents, Alan and Marie, are portrayed by Katie Sackhoff of Battlestar Galactica and Star Wars fame, and Rory Cochrane of Dazed and Confused and Empire Records fame. It would be a travesty to not point out that Rory effectively portrayed one of the all-time great stoners in Hollywood history when he nailed the role of Slater. And as previously mentioned, everyone is simply spot on. Flanagan deserves a round of applause for his casting. Of note, it is interesting how young Kaylie and old do look similar enough to portray the same character, and Katie Sackhoff with her red hair does look like a believable genetic match for their mother. The acting in general deserves a round of applause, and all of the mains do quite well, with Rory Cochrane perhaps pulling himself into a higher realm of existence. Although that could be the demon of nostalgia causing me to give him extra props, as I loved his portrayal of Slater in Dazed and Confused. Overall, Oculus is full of masterful imagery and editing, a well-thought-out narrative with tons of attention to detail. As the narrative openly bounces from the future to the past, it picks up in pace and begins to seamlessly jump back and forth between the two, effectively explaining what happened in both timelines, building the tension with a near perfection, all whilst keeping the laser glass itself very Lovecraftian in nature, dark and mysterious and unexplainable. It is, however, provided with a dark and rich history of atrocity and madness. I most definitely recommend this film to any fans of Mike Flanangan, and to fans of the horror genre in general. It is truly a great watch. That said, if you are not a fan of horror, I doubt you will enjoy this. but it does extend into the sci-fi lover's realm, and I assume the average moviegoer would enjoy this film if they enjoy bouncing narratives and can handle some gore and violence. Thank you for checking out the Oculus with me. I have new videos coming out all the time, so please hit that like and subscribe and ring the bell, as it is the only way I can grow. And until next time, keep sleepwalking, my friends.